Folks, today I'm going to change the alternator on a 320i N43 engine, BMW 3 Series. That's the shape there, just in case you're not sure which one. So, the alternator, I'm pretty sure something wrong with the bearing. It's making a very odd noise. I'll play a clip now to let you hear what that noise is. Okay folks, now you've heard the noise the alternator's making. The alternator is down in there. You can just see it there, right in front of my finger. So just for ease of access, I'm going to remove this air intake scoop and the air filter box. That should give me a lot of space around the front and side of the engine. So in order to remove the air intake, all you have to do is pull this sort of accordion plastic away from either this side or that side. It's Torx there, another one there, and another one there. So literally 3 Torx screws. We'll get this off. That'll be easier to get off. So I'll come back to you when I've done that now. Okay, I've removed that scoop. As you can see, I have a lot more room now, and you can actually see the alternator there. Those two pulleys that are right beside each other. That one there, that's the alternator. So I'm not going to do this just yet, but when it gets closer to the time after I've removed that air box there and give myself room to get down in this way to the alternator, I'm going to be using a bar on this tensioner to move that up this direction, in an upwards direction, which takes the tension off the serpentine belt, and then I'll be able to take the belt away, and then I'll be able to remove the alternator. So next thing I'm going to do is work on getting this box. Seems to be a bolt here, a bolt here. That just pops in and out. That little, this just pops in and out. And I will probably undo this here, or else at this end, and so I can pull the whole thing away. So I'll start on that now, and then I'll come back to you with an update. Okay, so I've taken this out, 2 10mm bolts, and as you can see, the air box is now completely loose. So all I have to do is knock clip out, fingers either side of it, pull. I've loosened the Jubilee clip from here and slid it up out of the way. So basically now I am trying to get this air pipe, or is it a bit loose now to work with, detached from the air box, so that I can go ahead and detach the electric clip. Just pull, it's hard to do with the camera in one hand, pull this off this box here, and then I can lift the box out of the way. So I'll start removing this first. I'll have to use both hands, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so as you can see, the airbox has just, I've still got that electrical clip connected in there. I'm actually struggling to get that off, so what I've done is I've just, this pipe is disconnected from the hole around here, just pulled off, pried it off with a big flat screwdriver. The other 2 10mm are off, so what I'm going to do now is take all of these little screws off around the edge of the air filter box to get the housing off, to get at that electrical connector inside, and then I'll disconnect it that way where I know it won't break it. So I'll get, and as you can see already, I've got a lot better access to the alternator. Whenever I take this tube away, I'll have complete access. The 2 bolts there hold the alternator on, and then the one at the top. So I'll come back to you once I've got this air box apart and disconnected the little airflow sensor. Okay, I've now got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws that hold the air filter box on. That actually I had to pry it apart with a screwdriver. Even though there's nothing holding on, it was still quite firmly in there. There's the air filter, which I'll be changing soon anyway, and then it made it a lot easier to get down here and unplug that little sensor, so I could take the whole air box, everything out of the car completely. And then I don't need to worry about damaging that little sensor anymore, because it's now safely out of the way. So the next thing for me to do is loosen that jubal clip there, which will enable me to get that pipe off. And once that pipe's off, I should have complete access to the alternator. So I'll work on that now, and then I'll come back in a few minutes. Okay, that was fairly easy. I undid that jubal clip and just twisted and pulled, and this came off. Just a little bit of piping. As you can see, I now have good access to the alternator. Here, here, and here. We'll hold that on. And in at the back there, where it's actually plugged in to the electrical. Well, there's two electrical connectors at the back, but that's one of them. The other one I can't see just yet. So before I mess with the alternator in any way, I'm going to go on detach the battery in the boot, so that there's no electricity traveling anywhere whilst I'm working with that alternator. So I'll go and do that now and come back to you. So I'm running the boot now where the battery is, and it's quite simple. I've already done it, but you just turn that, tilt this forward, and move it out of the way, and there is the battery. Just want to check the size. So they are 10mm. I'm going to move that brace out of the way just to help me, and I'm going to remove the connectors. I personally start with removing the negative first, and then wrap some blankets around it, make sure it doesn't touch anything or coming back in contact with the terminal while you're working in the car. So that is 10 mils. This one here, I'm not sure what that is yet. That seems to be 10 mil as well. So I'll remove that brace, and then I'll remove the terminal and come back to you. Okay, so I've removed the two 10 mil bolts and taken the brace out. I have undone the 10 mil bolt on top of the negative terminal. I've essentially just lifted that up and wedged the tile firmly in there, very, very thick tile, multiple layers, so that is going nowhere. It's not going to touch anything. So now I can go back, and I know there's no electrical power going to anything in the car, and I can work away. So I'm back around the front of the car, and the next thing I'm going to do, it's hard enough to take a photograph of this, although in this car it's not too bad. So in my other car it's very difficult. So what I'm just going to do is draw a diagram. That's not, that diagram there is just, I'm just using that to lean on it. That's from my E60 530D because it was a bit more complicated and there's less room. But I'm just going to draw a diagram of how all of these pulleys work, even though it's fairly simple and I could probably remember, just to be sure that whenever I put it back together I get it the same way as it came off. So I'll do that now. Draw my little diagram. Number 3 and 4 are the alternator. 3 is the pulley attached to the alternator, and 4 is the alternator itself. And number 5 is the tensioner. That's it right there. So now I'm going to put my bar, and I don't know, I think it's probably a 12 mil or something. and I'm going to push, the bar is going to run straight up, and I'm going to push it to the right of the screen, which will lift that tensioner up this way, and then I can pull this belt off. So I'm not going to be able to do that whilst holding the camera, but I'll try and do a bit. Okay, I just wanted to show you sort of how this works. That's a 16mm socket. If I push that way, the tensioner, as you can see, lifts pressure off the serpentine belt. And there's the pressure back on again. You're going to need both hands, but whenever I have it in that position, then I can start pulling the belt off various places, and I'll not let it back into its resting position until I have the belt completely off, so it doesn't get snagged or kinked anywhere. So I'm going to do that now. That was fairly easy to do. It just required two hands. I've got the belt off. It seems to be in reasonably good condition. That's the new alternator, the replacement alternator. It's not new. The belt seems to be in reasonably good condition, so I'm going to reuse it. So I will put that somewhere safe, and then I will begin removing the alternator. Just a little point of note that I've done here as a precaution. That is one of the electrical connections, I presume, from the alternator, so I have cracked that loose. You can see there. I've cracked it loose with a 17mm spanner, just so that whenever I do remove the alternator, I'm not mucking around trying to loosen that when it's not attached to anything. It would be quite hard if it was tight. It wasn't very tight though, it just came off very easily. So now it is time to 1, 2, 3. This little metal brace doesn't seem to be connected to anything. I think it is meant to hold an electrical connection behind there, but it's not anymore in this car. So 1, 2, 3 bolts, and the alternator should come out. So just a wee update on this car, they are 13mm screws, the 3 of them. They weren't all that tight either, so that's them all loose now. So we'll take them all out and then lift the alternator out. Before we go any further, I have actually disconnected the positive, the battery completely. Everything's just wrapped up in towel, so nothing is touching anything. The battery is completely disconnected. So I undid the bolts I was telling you about, and the alternator came straight out without too much issues. So basically it's only held in 1, 2, 3. There's the 3 bolts there. That's the replacement alternator. This little connector goes into the back of the alternator. It only goes one way. And this goes where I mentioned earlier, that little nut that I undone at the beginning, because I was worried about it giving me trouble later. So the alternator just lifted right out. I can actually see what was wrong. This pulley here is actually moving rather independently. There's also a bit of up and down play in it. I'm not sure if that is meant to move independently like that of the innards, but the new one I have does not move independently of the innards, even though it's the same model number. So I'll just double check. That I have the right alternator. Before I put it in. So there's the replacement. 180 amp. 180 amp. 0121715 017 7550469 7550469. It's the same part number anyway. 7550469. 7550469. So what I will do is put the new or replacement alternator in the car. It's going to be the exact reverse of everything I just did to get it out. That little connector, the blue tab you can see there, connects in here. There's a little bit of reach with it, but not much. Then when you get the alternator in, that will be sitting fairly close to this, and you just push it in over it and tighten that up. So that has basically no room to go anywhere. So do this one first, or I'm going to do this one first, and then when it's in I'm going to put that one on. So I'll get at that and then I'll let you know how I'm getting on. Okay, so that's the new alternator in place, or the replacement alternator in place. I have reconnected the electrical connection there and the clip at the back before I put it in. The alternator went down in this way, no problem. Didn't have to go under those pipes. It actually went down in from this angle, no problem. Bit of wiggling, but it went in without too much hassle. So that's nipped up tight, and these are nipped up tight as well, and so is this one. I don't know the torque settings off on. I'm going to go and find out. But either way, I've just nipped them tight. Didn't go too tight with them. I'll go and find that out now. You should do it, the torque specs. So that's it in. It was actually not the worst job I've ever done, and I'm not a mechanic. I just try to do things for myself to save myself paying others. So I'm going to get the hoover out and get rid of some of that crap there, so it's not rubbing against those hoses, and start to put everything back together, and then I'll let you know how we're getting on. I will do a test with the engine running just to make sure that it is charging the battery. Okay, so with the aid of my trusty little map, the diagram that I drew out, I have now got the serpentine belt back on. It was quite easy to put on this car. Once you hold the tensioner out of the way with one hand on a bar, it's not too hard to get the belt in round. A bit fiddly, but it would only took me about 2 or 3 minutes. So that's the alternator fitted and the belt back on. Whilst I'm here, I'm going to change the air filter. So basically that's just sitting on that. You pop that up, twist, and it comes out. So that's scrap. And the new air filter is just going to go in its place. So we'll do that now. Okay, that's the new air filter in place. I just put a very slight slither of grease around the outside of that housing where it goes, and then it's slipped down on. So that's the way it'll look. This little tab goes over this circle. As long as there's enough space to get the cover on in that groove, that'll be fine. So I'll put the airbox back together here now before I put it in the car. Okay, that's the new air filter in place. I just put a very slight slither of grease around the outside of that housing where it goes, and then it's slipped down on. So that's the way it'll look. This little tab goes over this circle. As long as there's enough space to get the cover on in that groove, that'll be fine. So I'll put the airbox back together here now before I put it in the car. So that is the airbox put back together with 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 locating screws. Again, they do not go in all that tight. It's just in the plastic, so over tighten it, it'll just strip it out. So that is, you can see the new air filter down in there. So this little locating tab sits over this in the engine bay. There should be a little rubber thing, but it's missing. Not to worry though, because it's still screwed on here and here with these two screws. So I need to reattach that little electronic clip, which will be a lot easier putting in than it was taking out. I can just reach in through the hole and do it, and then I'll put it back into the car and start putting everything back together. So that is the airbox back on, everything connected, this little doodah back in. I haven't bothered putting the scoop back in yet. I don't actually need it for this test because the air is filtered after this point anyway. So as you can see, it's all merrily running away. That weird noise has stopped. That ticking you can hear from up here, that happens in this car. I can't remember why that is, but it's fairly normal. So it's all running well, and I went round to the back. I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this. I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this, I don't think, because I don't have enough hands and they don't hold themselves onto the terminals, but I have tested that there 2 seconds ago and it's charging at 14.4 volts. So everything appears to be working without issue. And the same up here, everything seems to be working without issue. No problems. So, as I said, I'm not a mechanic. I've just taught myself how to do these things to save money. That alternator was 40 quid second hand. So that's the price of this job, 40 quid. Not too shabby. It appears to have worked. That noise certainly has went away anyway, so I hope somebody out there who is considering doing this job for themselves can take some good out of this video so they know what's involved anyway, or how I did it for my car. Anyway, thanks for watching.